Before we recite, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we gathered here to recite verses from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, which is conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So text number 1, Arjuna Vacha Sanyasya Mahabhavo Sannyasa Mahabhavo Tattva Michami Veditam Yagasya Cha Rishikesha Pritakeshi Nichudana.
Arjuna said, O mighty Arjuna, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa, O killer of the Kesi demon, master of the senses.
Text 2. Hari Bhagwan Uvacha Samyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sannyasam Kavayo Vidu Sarva Karma Phala Tyagam Prahustyagam Vichakshana.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasa, and giving up the results of the activities is what wise men call tyaga.
Text 3. Tyajayam dosha vedityake karma prahur vanishkana yagnadana tapa karma na tyagyamiti chapare.
Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty, yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned.
Text 4. Nishchayam shrinu me tatra tyage bharata sattama tyago hi purusha vidha pravidha samprakirtaha.
O best of Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds.
Text 5. Yagnadana tapa karma na tyagyam karyameva tat yagnodanam tapaschaiva pavanani manishkiram.
Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls.
Text 6. Etanyaphi tu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyananti me partha nishtitam matmatammam.
All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty. O son of Pritha, that is my final opinion.
Text 7. Niyatasya tu sannyasa karmano no papadyate mohastasya parityagas tamasa parikirtita.
Prescribed duty should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Text 8. Nuktamiti eva yat karma kaya klesha bhayat yajat sakritva rajasamam tyagam neva tyaga phalam labate.
Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation.
Text 9. Karyamiti hevayat karma niyatam kriyatarjuna sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva satyaga satviko mata.
O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 10. Na dveshtiyat pulusalam karma pulase nanusajjate tyagi sattva samavishto medavi chinna samsaya.
The intelligent renouncer, situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work nor attached to the auspicious work, has no doubts about work.
Text 11. Nahi dehavita sakyam yaktum karmani asyata yastu karma phala tyagi yastya satyagi tyag abhidyate.
It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruit of action is called one who has truly renounced.
Text 12. Anishtam ishtam mishtam cha Srivittam karmana phalam bhavatyagi nam pretya natu sanyashinam vachet.
For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy.
Text 13. Panchaitani mahabhavo karanani nibodhame sankhe kritanti pruktani siddhaya sarva karmanam.
O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me.
Text 14. Adhishtanam tatha karta कर्मणां च पृथग्विदं विविधाश्च पृथक् चेष्टा दैवं चैव प्रपञ्चनम्.
Prabhu, would you just move it up? Thank you. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. These are the 5 factors of action.
Text 15. Sharira vanam manobhiryat karma prarabhate nara tyayam va viparitam va panchaita tasya hetava.
Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors.
Text 16. Tatrevam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tu yah Vaishyatya Krita Buddhitwan Nasa Pashyati Nirmati.
Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are.
Text 17. Yasyanang Prito Bhavo Buddhir Yasyana Lipyate Atvapi Sa Imalokan Nahanti Nanipyate.
One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions.
Text 18. Gnanam Gnayam Kari Nata Trividha Karma Chodana Karanam Karma Karketi Trividha Karma Sangraha.
Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constituents of action.
Text 19. Gnanam karma cha karta cha tadeva guna vedata prochyate guna sankhyanē yatava shinu tanyapi.
According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge, action, and performer of action. Now hear of them from me.
Text 20. Sarvabhute yanaitam avamayayam mishakyate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tadgnanam vidhi satvikam.
That knowledge, by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 21. Pritvetvena tu yagnanam nanabhavan pritagvidan veti sarveshu bhuteshu tadgnanam vidhi rajasam.
That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion.
Text 22. Yattu Krishnavad ekasmin karye saktam ahetukam athavartavad vad alavam cha tat masam udratam.
And that knowledge by which one is attached to one's kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of truth, and which is very Myanga, is said to be in the mode of darkness.
Text 23. Niyatam sangha rahitam haraga dveshata kritam afala pepsuna karma yattat satvikam uchyate.
That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive result, is said to be in the mode of goodness.
Text 24. Yattu tamapuna karma sahankarena vapuna priyate bahulas layasam tadrajasam tajradasam udratam.
But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion.
Text 25. Anubandham shayam insam anapeksha purushotam mohat aravyate karma yat tattamasyam uchyate.
That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concerns for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Ananta Vijay Prabhu, for the recitation, and Vilavilasani for the translation. Thank you very much. And today's Bhagavad Gita verse is chapter 18, verse 6. So I just wanted to check that you can all see that.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, that's good. I'll start with this particular verse. Vitani apitu karmani sangam tyakta phalani cha kartavya niti me partha nichita matamuttamam. Synonyms. Etani, all these, api, certainly, to what? Harmony, activities, sangam, association, takpa, renouncing, phalani, results, cha, also, Kartavyani should be done as duty. Iti, thus, me, my, artha, asarupita, nishchitam, definite, matam, opinion, uttamam, the best. Translation, followed by the purport by Srila Prabhupada. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O Sarupita. That is my final opinion. Purport. Although all sacrifices are purifying, one should not expect any result by such performances. In other words, all sacrifices which are meant for material advancement in life should be given up. But sacrifices that purify one's existence and elevate into one's spiritual plane cannot be stopped. Everything that leads to Krishna consciousness must be encouraged. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also stated that any activity which leads to a devotional service to the Lord should be accepted. That is the highest criterion of religion. The devotee of the Lord should accept any kind of work, sacrifice, or charity which will help him in the discharge of devotional service to the Lord. Read the translation again. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, Asanapita. That is my final opinion. Let's say the Mangalacharan prayers. If you want to recite with me with your hands folded, please do so. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave
Namaha
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishta
Vishnu Bhavitam Vena Bhutale
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shiva Shakhan Vitam Shah Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinaban
Banjo Jagatpate
Vishwara Gopika
Kantam Vasante
Kankana Gaurange
Girati Vrindavaneshwari
Shabasata Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakaputurubhyasya Vipa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo
Navyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namam
Ishtapadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Churu Swami Iti Namane Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Deva Chaita Sunyavadi Pashyatya Desitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you very much for joining with tonight's chapter day Bhagavad Gita on chapter 18 verse number 6. Please accept my humble obeisances for my obeisances to my dearest Guru Srila Bhakti Swami and Teacher Prabhupada. All of you have participated. I'll seek for your blessings that I may be able to say something which is very pleasing to Krishna. So over the last chapter, chapter 17, the different divisions of faith, you've been talking extensively about the different kind of principles that one should perform in order to become God realized, self-realized, Krishna consciousness. And that is austerity or tapasya, sacrifice, which is yajna, and charity, which is dana. And these are mixed in different modes of mature nature, which is goodness, Sattva guna, passion, Rajaguna, and ignorance, which is Tamas guna. And each of those different activities that you perform, different modes, they actually culminate into different results in your life. Then the instructions that we have been given by Krishna, that you should actually carry on performing these activities, austerity, charity, yajna, sacrifice, in order to purify oneself. The idea of purifying oneself is to free oneself from all material attachment and renounce ourselves to completely surrender to Krishna. Purification is a way that we approach without any hesitation to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we talk about purification, we talk about purification not only internally, but also externally. When we talk about this particular verse, Krishna specifically says to give up all activities. The activities should be given up without any expectation of results. Every day we're performing in some way or another, whether it's working for ourselves, working for somebody else, working for a family, working for a friend, neighbor. Those activities are done out of kindness. Certain activities are done with certain results in mind, that you want some aim, adoration, glorification. But Krishna says, no, you should actually give them all up, but you should actually renounce them and do them as an offering to Krishna himself. What is the purpose of that? The purpose was also explained yesterday, because Hari Prabhu kindly talked about the different processes of a human being performing different yagnas during the...
Hare Krishna, can't hear you, Prabhuji.
Sorry, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhuji,
I can hear you, Prabhu.
I can hear you.
We can't hear you. We can't hear.
Closer to the microphone. So Mukunda Hari was talking about the different samskaras that you have to perform in your day-to-day life in order to purify oneself, starting from, even when the child is conceived in the womb, in the mother, so on the way to the different samskaras, the grain ceremony, and then of course the vivaha when somebody gets married. These are all notified purifications. But in this particular verse, we're talking about all the activities. Now you may ask, what is fruitive activities? Can somebody participate and tell me what fruitive activities actually mean? I'll give you a clue. Arjuna actually asked Krishna, what is fruitive activities? And Krishna replies in the third chapter, I believe. Anybody knows what it is? Okay, I'll just read it out to you. It's actually from, sorry, just find that page. It's actually chapter 8, verse 3. I'm just going to see if I can find it for you. So Arjuna is asking, what is Brahman? What is fruitive activities? What is the three modes of material nature? Krishna says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and its eternal nature is called Adhyatma itself. Now, action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma, or fruitive activities. So whenever you hear the word fruitive activities, it actually refers to karma. The karma is everything that we do in our life, whatever action that we perform, whether it's sleeping, whether it's eating, whether it's walking, talking, any activities, it all incurs karma. Now there's several types of karma, but there's three specific karmas that is defined in the Bhagavad Gita. Does anybody know what those three types of karma is? Anybody from the audience?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
The thing about the word mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness.
Sure. Sorry, who was that? Who was speaking?
Palika Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So Palika Mataji, that refers more to the modes of material nature. So
Yeah.
the karmas. But
Oh,
there's three,
so I asking about the karma, different karma.
there's three types of karma, Palika Mataji.
Yeah, it's karma, akarma, and bikarma.
Very good, Palika Mataji. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
There's three types of karma. The first one is a karma, where you do not incur any self-reactions whatsoever. These are activities that you perform for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That's known as devotional service as well. So you could actually say that you could go to war to uphold Dharma. And if you kill somebody in that battle, you would not incur any sins. And that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna, that it is your duty as a Kshatriya to fight and uphold Dharma against its miscreants. So as a result, anybody who fought on Krishna's side were actually acquiring a karma of good pious activities. The other one that we all refer to, karma, sometimes referred to as bad karma, it's actually karma, where it's on a neutral level, where you may be going about doing your day-to-day life because it is your duty. You may be a Vaishya, you may be a Shudra, you may be a Brahmin, you may be a Kshatriya. But you're doing that activity as for your own personal benefit. There are still some bondage attached to that kind of activities as well, that karma. The fact is that although you're performing that activity for yourself, you're not performing it for Krishna's pleasure. So therefore, you have to come back in this material world again and again and again and carry over those creative activities. It's almost like a neutral state. And the karma that we always refer to, bad karma, called vikarma, that is karma activities that against the principles of religious activities itself. Things which are forbidden in religion, say for instance, animal slaughter, the murder of another human being without any particular reason, causing distress to another living entity, human being, animals, even karma where you've actually, supposing if you're cutting plant, grass, whatever,
Sign up today.
that's also karma.
Shaw's Advanced Protection Range.
Krishna, could you take yourself on mute, please? So a good example I'm going to give you is Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was only 5 years old. And the Srimad Bhagavatam in the fourth canto explains about the beautiful stories of Dhruva Maharaj. Lord Brahma's son was called King Uttanapad, and he had two wives. One of the wives' name was Surichi. She was younger, but he was very much attached to her because she was more attractive. The second wife was older, so it was more like a maidservant. Her name was Suniti. And each of them bore a son. And King Uttanapad was very, very favorable to his wife Surichi, and he had a son who was sitting on the lap of King Uttanapad. At the time, Dhruva Maharaj, he was also 5 years old. He saw his brother, stepbrother, sitting on King Uttanapad's lap. But the king actually ignored him, and the mother, Surichi, the stepmother, started telling Dhruva, what are you doing? You do not have any rights to be sitting on the throne of the king, the emperor of the world. You should perform some pious activities, pray to Krishna, and then you would be successful in sitting on the throne of Krishna, your father's lap. But Dhruva Maharaj was very, very hurt by the harsh words of Surichi, his stepmother, and he started crying and ran to his own mother. His own mother, Suniti Devi, could not do anything and said, listen, it is beyond my control. But what Surichi Mataji, your stepmother, said, yes, you should go and pray to the Supreme Lord. So Dhruva Maharaj was only 5 years old, so he decided, that's it. I want to show who I am. I want to perform austerities or sacrifices to Krishna, to Lord Vishnu, to acquire a kingdom that is even greater than my father, so I could show them that I'm not just an ordinary person. So he went off to the forest, and at that time Narada Muni stopped him and said, what are you doing? You're only 5 years old. And of course, Narada Muni He knows everything in the heart of every living entity. Dhruva Maharaj explained to him exactly what happened, but Radha Muni was saying, please, you're only 5 years old. You're a Kshatriya. You should just be strong in your character. You should not become bitter by the harsh words of your stepmother. But still, Dhruva Maharaj said, well, you are saying something which I cannot accept. So then Narada Muni suggested that please go to, I think it's Bahuvalan forest by the river Yamuna and meditate on the lotus feet of Krishna. So Dhruva Maharaj went there and he meditated. The first month, on every third day, he would eat only fruits and berries. In the second month, every sixth day, he would only eat grass and the roots. On the third month, he would only drink water every 9 days. And on the fourth month, every 12th day, he would just take a deep breath of air, and just by sustaining himself, he was able to stay alive. By that performance, over 6 months, he was able to stand on one leg. And due to his ability to become one with Krishna in his consciousness, it actually caused the whole three worlds to tremble. And his foot was pressing against Mother Earth so deeply that it was stayed out of orbit. And because the three worlds were trembling, the demigods went to Krishna. Lord Vishnu, look, this is what's happening. Please protect us. Lord Vishnu came to Dhruva Maharaj and said, my dear Dhruva Maharaj, what are you doing? At that time, just before Lord Vishnu came and appeared before Dhruva Maharaj, his meditation had completely broken, and he saw Lord Vishnu, but he was unable to speak. And Lord Vishnu, by his mercy, placed a conch on his head, and out of his ability, he glorified Lord Vishnu. And I'm so fortunate to see you. Now, please give me your blessings. And he was so happy to see Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu knew exactly what his desire was, but he still asked Dhruva, what is it that you wanted? And he said that what you required or what you requested was very difficult to give. It's something that he never gives to anybody. And what did he do? Dhruva Maharaj was offered the pole star, the North Pole, as we say. That pole star is full of opulence. It does not get destroyed during the millennium of Lord Brahma's night when everything comes into dissolution. The planet was far superior than anything beyond the planets of the demigod itself. It's considered as a Vaikuntha planet. But then Lord Vishnu disappeared from Dhruva Maharaj, and Dhruva Maharaj, although he was awarded this amazing opulence by his performance of activities, by his sacrifice, but he felt very disturbed, he felt very hurt at himself. Now, does anybody know why Dhruva Maharaj felt that way, even though he attained what he desired? Why did Dhruva Maharaj lament? Does anybody know?
Because he found, Prabhu, that, like the eh, the benediction, when he got the darshan of the Lord, then he said, like he was just praying for, just a broken glass. This material opulences is no comparison with Lord's darshan.
That is true. Thank you so much, Krishna Bhani Mataji. That is 100% true. So when the story was narrated between the great sage Maitreya Muni and Dura asked, well, why was he lamenting? Because he got what he desired. He got the opulent planet, and he was almost indestructible. And his life was full of immortality. He got all the happiness in this world. But he explained that Dhruva Maharaj was unhappy that he was lamenting that he desired some material benefaction. When he saw the Lord face to face, he realized that he should have prayed for being completely surrendered at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. But instead, he felt foolish. He felt like a fool in front of Lord Vishnu, asking for some mundane activities. So that's why when a devotee, when he prays to the Lord Krishna, his heart is so pure that they do not desire anything at all for themselves. They are happy to give everything they have for Krishna. It's like in charity. The whole purpose of charity is to give, free yourself from bondage of these possessions. Charity, a performance of yajna, a performance of austerity has to be done. as Krishna said in many of the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, what happens? If you do not do that, it binds you to the material world. And because Dhruva realized that, although he did go back to Godhead, back to Vaikuntha because of his love for Krishna, and Krishna gave him the benediction that because you came to that Brahma, the Siddhartha stage, that he was able to keep that level of purity all his life. And he always remained ever youthful. So in our life, we in the stories of the Bhagavatam, see many stories who have performed many, many yagyas and sacrifices. You see like the demonic side as well, like Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, even Duryodhana. They were all praying to the Supreme Lord, but their prayer for the Supreme Lord was for selfish purposes only. And they only met the destruction. Even when you read the story of the Mahabharata, when the fight was going on, the battle at Kurukshetra, Duryodhana arranged for great Brahmins to perform auspicious activities to the warriors on his side so they could become successful. And you may think if there's a war going on, one person is praying to God for victory, and another army, the enemies, are also praying to God for victory. Who do you think Krishna would favor? Does anybody know? If there was a war going between two enemies, and both of them are praying for Krishna or God, who would God favor? Would anybody like to give a guess?
The person pray for Krishna.
Praying for
Is
Krishna?
he gonna favor the person who is fighting for Dharma?
Yes,
Is
that's
gonna
right,
take-
Vijay. Yes,
Mhm.
it's correct. So somebody, you may see like in World War, there were enemies who are praying for Krishna, for God to be on their side, and there was also the other enemies who they saw in their eyes also pray for God for victory. But Krishna actually sees that one who is actually upholding Dharma, one who is actually seeing that whatever results they get will be as an offering to the Supreme Lord. So Krishna will favor that particular person. Just like when Arjuna and Bhishma were fighting, they were both pure devotees, but yet when Bhishma attacked Arjuna so fiercely, even though Lord Arjuna wasn't fully utilizing his full potential to fight against Bhishma, what did Krishna do? He got off the chariot, picked up the wheel like a chakra wheel, and was ready to attack Bhishma Dev. But Bhishma Dev was so happy to see Lord Krishna coming to kill him that he got off his chariot and prayed to Lord Krishna, ready to be devoured. But of course, Arjuna protected Bhishma Dev from being killed by Krishna because the vow was that Krishna would never lay a weapon against the enemies, and he wanted to maintain that. Otherwise, Krishna will not be upholding his duties as well. So it is important when you perform sacrifices, when you perform duties, you're performing for the benefit of Krishna himself. The last time I gave you an example about Prabhupada, and he had a gold watch, and the prisoner saw that picture of back to Godhead of Prabhupada having that gold watch, decided he wanted to join the movement and wanted to get that gold watch. When he came face to face with Prabhupada, he told Prabhupada what his motive was. Prabhupada was happy to give that gold watch, but because of his transformation, being with the devotees and being with Prabhupada, he said, no, I'm happy to serve you, and became a successful restaurant manager in India. Now, there was another example where somebody was actually been given a lot of money, but he said, no, we do not want any of this money because it's contaminated with material. But what did Prabhupada say? Prabhupada said, no, 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 give me all the money. Please give me all the money. Now, why would Prabhupada say that when we're supposed to be detached from material opulence? Does anybody want to answer that? I'm trying to make it interactive so you don't fall asleep with in the lecture.
He wanted to use all this Lakshmi for Lord, so he was going to use it for Krishna, so he doesn't mind, no matter how much money he has.
Yeah, that is very right, Krishna. Was that Krishnavani?
Yes,
Yeah,
Lord.
thank you. Yes. So that's what Prabhupada was showing. Yes, showed them a photograph of me taken all the money, because Prabhupada did not have any desire for anything himself. He didn't want a penny. Everything he did it for the pleasure of his own spiritual master. And he would always praise his disciples that it was because of you, your loyalty and serving me, that this has become successful. And he would utilize the money to build magnificent temples. So somebody asks Prabhupada, well, why are you making a big temple, opulent temples? Why don't you just pray at home in your own, at your own convenience? Prabhupada said, yes, we can do that, but if we have a magnificent temple where everyone gets attracted, that people realize that the opulence that we're serving Krishna in the form of Radha Krishna is not an ordinary thing. And generally, people will be attracted. Just like we're so attracted to Radha Gokulananda, in the way the temple facilitates for all the devotees, visitors, guests, devotees, non-devotees, people just get attracted to that arrangement, the atmosphere, the association of the devotees. So it's important that whatever activities or possessions that you have, if you do it for the pleasure of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is far more better, more pleasing for Krishna himself. I was just going to say, I was going to talk a little bit about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as well. Later on, just 5 minutes or so. There was another particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says about fruitive activities. That particular verse is, I believe, it's in, I think it's chapter 3. Therefore, with that, it attached to the fruitive activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For working without any particular motivation, one attains the supreme. So when you're doing fruitive activities without attachment, then that is the way that you attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you see this particular translations are said again and again. And in this particular verse, and in many of the verses, Krishna says, Matam Uttamam. That is my final opinion. Now, why does Krishna say this in many of his verses, in my opinion? Why not in so-and-so's opinion? Or why does he say that? Would anybody like to give a suggestion at all?
Hare Krishna
Because
Prabhu.
Jeev.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ananta Vijay?
No, go ahead. Let's give another person a chance.
Oh, sure. So somebody else? Good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was just going to say, I think, is it because Krishna is like an authoritative, is an authority. So if he states it's in his opinion, then it cannot be argued. It just has to be accepted.
Sorry, is that Bharat, right?
Sorry, no, it's Dev Kishan Prabhu.
Oh, Dev Kitchen, sorry. I don't see all the list of names on the side. Sorry.
It's okay, no worries.
Yeah, that is very true, Dev Kitchen. So yes, because he says, in my opinion, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the supreme authority. When we read the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that the first fruit is perishable science for the sun god, Vivashvan. Vivashvan instructed Manu. Manu instructed his son, Ikshvaku. So he could have easily said, this is the opinion of Vivashvan or Manu or Ikshvaku, but no, because that supreme science has come specifically from Krishna to Brahma and so forth. That's the way we got to get our authority from the spiritual master. What is that verse from Bhagavad Gita? Krishna actually says, sorry, I just have to, oh yeah, Tadvidi Pranipatena from chapter 4 Bhagavad Gita. One should try to approach the spiritual master, acquire from him inquisitively, surrender unto him. The spiritual master can reveal that knowledge to you because he has realized that truth. Because he's realized that truth, through the parampara, he follows in the authoritative disciplic succession, not something which has been made up. As we know, there are 4 sampradayas. We follow in the Brahma Sampradaya at the moment, the Madhvacharya Sampradaya. And in that Sampradaya, that has come directly from the lineage of Krishna himself. So when we have our own spiritual master, we have to also question ourselves, how do we know it's authorized because anything could be distorted in their own opinion itself. That's why Krishna says this, it's my opinion. So it's very important that when we follow the instructions, we follow the instructions of the authority himself, and this authority is Krishna himself. So another sort of point on this particular purport, also it is said that any activity which leads to devotional service to the Lord should be accepted. So from the Padeshamrita, the or sometimes known as the Nectar of Instruction by Rupa Goswami, there's a very beautiful verse in there, and it talks about the 6 principles about devotional service. I could just read it out to you. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. One is being enthusiastic. Without enthusiasm, we become very stagnant in our spiritual life. We do not feel any sort of encouragement at all, any motivation. We always have to be enthusiastic about chanting our rounds, enthusiastic about going out devotional service, enthusiastic about helping, assisting devotees for the preaching of the mission. Although we understand that Krishna has provided everything through us to his devotees, so likewise we provide that same knowledge to other people who may be coming into Krishna consciousness as well, neophyte devotees. Second one is endeavoring with confidence. If you do not endeavor with confidence, then you lack motivation, you lack your intense desire to serve Krishna as devotees. And one of the verses from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, always start in my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These 3 things, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So always shine in my glories, endeavoring with great determination, and bowing down before me. The third one is being patient. All of you have been very patient as well with this pandemic, and I won't talk too much about the pandemic. I'm sure it's been referred to so many times. But being patient is a virtue as well. Sometimes we just want results very quickly. Oh, Prabhu, I'm chanting my rounds, but I'm not getting any realizations. Prabhu, I'm following the 4 regulated principles, but I'm not getting any results. Allow patience. Patience allows you to be connected to Krishna, allows you to be surrendered wholeheartedly to the Supreme Lord, who is devotees. Patience also brings about happiness within you. When you're sort of very, very frustrated in life, when you're very, very temperamental, like in a traffic jam, sometimes you may think, well, Krishna, I've got to do this service for you, but I'm stuck in a traffic jam. You've got to understand, Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu. So what is it that somebody who's behind you in a traffic jam is not favorable towards Krishna, even though he may not be a devotee? But to Krishna, every person, every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. So we have to learn to be patient in order to progress in our spiritual life. Fourth one is acting according to regulated principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Now, can I just ask any of the new devotees, does anybody know that particular verse or shloka? I know Krishnavani and Krishanga Mataji would know, and Kapalika. Anybody else would know that verse if they're happy to recite it? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. No? Okay. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Shravanam, Padasevanam. Oh, just a big slip of my mind. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. These are the 9 processes of devotional service, like what Prahlad Maharaj says to Hiranyakashipu about pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and of which chanting and hearing is the most important. Shravanam, hearing is the most important. Shravanam, Kirtanam. Yeah? So, fourth one was acted according to regulated principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna. The fifth one is abandoning the association of non-devotees. That is very important because when you have the association of non-devotees, your mind becomes polluted. They can lead you astray. They can lead you to situation where they could take you away from Krishna consciousness altogether by carrying out the 4 principles to which is against Krishna consciousness. No gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. What was the other one? Intoxication.
No gambling.
So, what was no illicit sex, no gambling, intoxication, and
Illicit sex.
No illicit drugs.
drugs.
No,
Thank you. Drugs. Thank you. Now, and following the 6th one is following footsteps of the previous acharyas. Now, which we mentioned earlier on about the Supreme Personality of Godhead being the Supreme Authority, and then the disciplic succession that we have to approach a bona fide spiritual master. We have to accept the footsteps of the acharyas. Without accepting the footsteps of the acharyas, we could end up accepting things which are not favorable into Krishna consciousness. Now, just before I finish off, was there any questions anybody wanted to ask? And now you can just finish off on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I'm sorry if I spoke too much or if my voice wasn't clear enough. Any questions at all? Okay, I'll just share you another slide. So today was the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, with the spiritual master of our own beloved grandfather, spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to speak about him, so I said, let me quickly find some information on this. And this is on the Gaudiya History website, part of its Gandhazatri. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, guru of Srila H.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, appeared in Sheikh Kshetra Dham, Jagannath Puri, 6th of February, 1874, as the son of Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In his childhood, he quickly mastered the Vedas, memorized the Bhagavad Gita, and relished his father's philosophical works. He became known as a living encyclopedia for his vast knowledge. He preached convincingly against casteism and philosophical deviations from Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He tried to unite the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas by publishing their teachings. Srila Saraswati Thakur earned the title Nrsimha Guru for his fearless and powerful delivery of the Vaishnava Siddhanta. Mayavadis would cross the street to avoid confronting the Lion Guru. Besides being a courageous preacher, he was ornamented with all qualities of full of ecstatic love of God. He established 64 Gaudiya Math temples in India, centers in Burma, England, and Germany. Srila Saraswati Thakur excavated Lord Chaitanya's appearance place at the Yogapith Sri Mayapur. Despite heavy opposition from the money-hungry caste Goswamis of Navadvip, he built a beautiful Gaudiya Math temple there. His 3 Brihamadhangas printing presses in Madras, Calcutta, Krishnanagar used to pump out books, magazines, and newspapers to spread the message of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. When asked why he printed a daily spiritual newspaper entitled Nadia Prakash, Srila Saraswati Thakur replied, if an insignificant city can produce 5 daily newspapers, then why can't we publish a newspaper every second about the eternal, ever-fresh transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and its unlimited spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan? Apart from his father's writings, he published many authorized shastras, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangala, Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and his favorite book, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He predicted that foreigners would learn Bengali to relish the nectar left by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He introduced many innovations to expand preaching. All over India, he staged free theistic exhibits and dioramas depicting the passages of Sri Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Employing the latest technology, he even had animated dolls. Commemorate the many holy places visited by Lord Chaitanya, installed marble impressions of the Lord's lotus feet. Breaking tradition, he let the sannyasis wear tailored kurtas and overcoats, ride in cars and motorboats, and carry Mahaprabhu's message across the sea to Europe. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's revolutionary preaching ideas sprang from this entire principle of Yukta Vairagya set forth by the Rasa Acharya, Srila Rupa Goswami. In an eternally liberated soul, Srila Saraswati Thakur knew how to perfectly engage Maya, illusory energy, in the service of Lord Krishna. Following Srila Bhaktivinoda's footsteps, he preached Devi Varnashram to harmonize society, provide spiritual fulfillment for all, advocating the teachings of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha Goswami. He taught the science of devotional service, showed thousands how to attain pure love of Shri Radha Gandiva Giridhari, Radha Krishna. Aside from his phenomenal preaching success in India, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's greatest contribution was Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whom he initiated and inspired to distribute Krishna consciousness all over the world. When Srila Prabhupada was asked to describe his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, "What can I say? He is a Vaikuntha man." In Radha Govinda's eternal pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan, Srila Saraswati Thakur serves as Nayana Mani Manjari. His Pushpa Samadhi are at Radhakund and Radha Damodar. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. So there are so many wonderful, beautiful pastimes of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. There's a wonderful book called Array of Vishnu, and it's written by Rupa Vilas Das Goswami. It's a biography. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is explaining so many wonderful pastimes about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Also, if you get a chance to watch the Abhaycharan TV videos by His Holiness Bhakti Swami, there is a lot of history of the Gaudiya Math, starting from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gopal Kishore Das Babaji, and of course Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, how he met or had Srila Prabhupada Abhaycharan met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's also known that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur chanted 1 billion names of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It took him 8 years to accomplish that particular vow. He chanted 192 rounds every day. That's quite a lot. For many people, we all struggle even chanting 16 rounds a day. And even when we chant 16 rounds a day, we always think to ourselves, wow, they weren't really good. I could have chanted nicely or clearly, meditating on Krishna's lotus feet. But you know, our mind is always flickering with so many activities, always disturbed. As Krishna says, for the mind is always flickering and unsteady, but one must control it with the control of the self. So I'll just end there. It's almost like 10 to 8. Just finally share off and say thank you to everyone who participated. Is there any other questions at all anybody would like to ask? No? Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai.
Yeah.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.